Hello, this is Nicky Tamaya for Top Gear Philippines, and you're here with me on this dark, dull, and dreary day to review a car that is not dark, dull, or dreary, the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross 1.8G CVT. Yes, the 1.8G, not the 1.8 hybrid. Now, this costs 350,000 pesos less than the hybrid, but is it worth 350,000 pesos less? Or is it worth more? Let's find out. Crossovers are incredibly popular right now. And the Toyota Corolla is one of the most popular cars of all time and the best-selling car of all time. You put the two together, you have a recipe for success. Over the past 2 decades, those crossovers have killed the common car. Everyone wants a crossover because crossovers give you the ease of driving of a sedan with the height and utility mostly of an SUV. So the Corolla Cross, being a crossover, looks nothing like the Corolla. It doesn't share a single body panel or exterior bit with the Corolla. Instead, it looks a lot like the RAV4. It's got that ginormous, gaping, great grille up front, which is kind of weird. It's filled with a lot of black plastic because there's only a 1.8 liter engine behind it. And it has those big blistered fender flares like on the RAV4, which is also weird because underneath those fender flares are basically, tires that are halfway between Corolla and RAV4 size. It's not a car tire, it's not an SUV tire, it's just in-between tire. And in between is the styling too. Unlike the RAV4, which has body lines that are so sharp you could cut yourself on them, this has slightly softer body lines to kind of blend itself between the Corolla and RAV4, and it gives it a broader appeal. It's not just over-the-top macho or, super sporty. On the inside, however, you can tell that this is a Corolla. It looks just like a Corolla in here. And that's not a bad thing. Corolla is pretty nice nowadays. But I will note that on this base model, you have a strange mix of good and not so good textures and materials. Like this panel here, it's soft touch on this side, and it crosses over behind the steering wheel and it comes out on their side as plastic. The steering wheel is urethane, not leatherette. The seats are just that durable black nylon that you'd expect on a base level Vios, not something this expensive. Although, to be fair, they're very comfortable seats. They're nice seats. I like these seats. But they don't look expensive. But you do get a lot of space. Not expensive, but expansive. This is supposedly got 50 millimeters less leg room than the Corolla, but when you're seated in here, it doesn't feel like it. It feels huge. You've got a higher roof. You've got taller seats. You've got lots of elbow room. You can move around. And compared to other 1.3 million peso crossovers in the mainstream, this feels ginormous. Unfortunately, out back, because of the hybrid battery, the rear seat squab sits a bit too high, so when you fold the rear seats down, they don't fold completely flat. There's a step that's this high between the rear seat backs and the floor. It's not a big deal if you're loading groceries or bags, but if you've got like buy-in boxes or bicycles or big things in there, it might make it difficult to balance them. Now, the 1.8 doesn't have the battery, I know, but the seat squab still sits high up, and it's still an issue. So it doesn't have the hybrid system or the hybrid battery. It still has the same 1.8 liter engine, and it's a pretty good 1.8 liter engine. It goes well, it's pretty responsive. The CVT doesn't get your blood running. It's just a CVT. You don't have any paddle shifters. You have a manual shifting option, but you never really feel the need to use it. Instead, you just let it do its thing. You let the car drive for you, and you actually cruise along and get pretty decent fuel economy. I mean, in mixed traffic, we're getting something like 14 kilometers a liter. And that's despite this engine not being broken in yet. Now, to drive, the Corolla Cross is not exactly exciting. It's based on the Corolla, and the Corolla in this generation has made great strides in driving dynamics, driving engagement, and ride comfort thanks to that new multi-link rear suspension. But in the interest of getting more interior space and more practicality, and probably to bring costs down, this has a rear torsion beam suspension. And that means that the driving dynamics are dulled down somewhat. And adding a few inches to the ride height and adding bigger tires just makes the ride a bit knobblier, you can tell here, over the rough stuff. And there's further cost cutting here. I can hear more road noise than I remember from my drive in the Corolla. In the city, this is actually pretty decent to drive. This thing has good sight lines, gigantic windows, and the tall hood is an issue because I'm sitting Corolla low in here, and the hood makes it a bit harder to park, but you can crank the seat up, look over it, no problem. Out back is a bigger problem because of the hatch. The rear window is kind of small, really small, actually surprisingly small for the size of this vehicle. Thankfully, even this supposedly base 1.8G model comes with a backup camera, and that kind of takes care of all your parking needs for you. Aside from that backup camera, you do get the infotainment system. Unfortunately, it's not the same system as in the hybrid, so you don't have Apple CarPlay or Google Android Auto. You have the T-Link app, which is hit or miss. Some phones, it'll connect right away. Other phones, it'll leave you hanging there for minutes. Thankfully, you still have Bluetooth, and Bluetooth works pretty well, and the sound is actually surprisingly strong, given that this is just the base head unit, base sound system. Aside from that, you do get remote locking and remote ignition, so you come up to the car, you just grab the handle, it unlocks for you, push button start, no problem. But there is an issue when you leave the car. There is no push button on the door handle to lock the door. You do have to lock it with the remote. So keeping things in mind, is this worth 1.3 million? Is this a good bargain for 350,000 less than the hybrid? I'd say it's a pretty good value within the Toyota stable. The Corolla Cross fully loaded is 1.65 million. It doesn't have all-wheel drive, but it has Toyota Safety Sense and a fantastic hybrid system. But at 1.3, you don't get much. You get a great 1.8 liter engine, you get the basic infotainment system, and that's about it. But consider that in the mainstream, nothing else offers this much space for this price. And I always say the greatest luxury you can find, especially as a family man, is space. And this has a whole lot of it. And it's not a bad car. So, you're lacking a few toys and you don't get rear air conditioning, which will be an issue for some people. For me, the aircon is strong enough even when you're seated back there. And you don't get Toyota Safety Sense, but it's not a bad value. The only things that can beat this in terms of space for price, carry a Chinese badge or a Chinese chassis. What this gives you over those is the reassurance that you're buying tried and tested Toyota technology, say that 3 times fast, in that 1.8 liter engine and that Corolla chassis. I'd rather buy a good base car and add what I want to it than buy toys on something that gives you less utility or less power or less car. So, before it starts raining again, I'm going to head on home. This has been Nicky Tamayo for Top Gear Philippines with the all-new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross 1.8G CVT, signing out.